So I've included this picture in here for the Kaysville cover crop site. I went and took this picture this morning. I'm about 6 feet tall and that grass is over my head. And the reason why I'm sharing that picture is because you'll see that 5 days ago when I shot the videos, it was actually about 1.5 feet shorter. So I just want to start off with giving you a plot map. I'm giving you an idea of where the things are. So there's a little bit of a plot map out here, and then I'll let Robo Cody start talking.
So this field has, as I mentioned earlier, has 5 different seed treatments, and we've replicated that 4 times. And so we've got a block right here, that's our first 5 seed treatments. We've got a block there, and then we split this field in half, halfway down, where then we have our back 2 replications. So it's kind of like a game of Foursquare where we've got 4 blocks arranged in a square pattern. We also planted this barrier around just where we ran out the drill.
And so that's just kind of an overview of the area, kind of the shape of our plots and our replication. So sorry if you see a little bit of redundancy between Matt, Jake and Mike and I, but it's good to see it in all 3 of these different locations. I won't really go into deep detail on the seed mixes. I'll just let Robo Cody talk, and you can look off to the left since Matt already explained what's in those mixes.
But I'm going to tell you a little bit about our cover crop trials that we're doing here at the Kaysville Botanical Center. We have 5 seed treatments from just using monoculture all the way up to a whole kitchen sink of seed species. I'm standing in the monoculture right now that we're using as a baseline. You can see it's about this high. I'm 6'2", and we've got quite a bit of growth. We planted this cover crop in June, and we're about 45 days after plant. We've got this much biomass. Now if you follow me over here, you can see that this seed treatment's much shorter, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we have less biomass here. Dry matter could be about the same, and that's because down in as we get low, we've got a lot of our smaller plants, our kales, our other brassicas, like radishes, and even our legumes in here. So they're making up this understory and providing biomass as well. We've also got this seed treatment. It's real tall, and what we've noticed as we were collecting harvest data from this is that there's a really high level of variability across this field, and that we may not actually see much of a difference in dry matter, even though what's going on in the soil and what we're putting into the soil, we may get some good
results here in the next couple years. Just let me know if you're having trouble with sound quality, either of the mats. I hope I'm not being the echo problem. I turned my speakers down, but just let me know if that's making the video go quieter.
But I'm going to tell you,
it's a little quiet, but it's okay.
Okay. So just a little bit about the plots. Where they're 60 each plot is 65 feet long, 10 feet wide, and we sampled soil from them prior to planting both years that we've done it so far. This is the 2019 info. in 2019, we planted with a grain drill, and we planted on the 14th of July. We harvested those just by clipping them with a few different replications, and then just turned them into a composite after 72 days. We left that crop residue in the field to decompose and reduce soil loss. We just let nature knock it over, and I wasn't able to get you a good picture in time. I was trying to sort through my phone pictures, but I backed up the phone to switch phones, and so it was kind of hard to find, but I can show anybody a picture that's curious at a later date. And then 2020, so we plowed under the residue at the beginning of June from our 2019 stuff, and it seemed like it gave us a lot of good erosion control and was able to break down. I recognize, you know, since we didn't incorporate it earlier, we probably lost some nitrogen, but we held that soil in place pretty good. We took the soil samples again before planting, and then because our seed bed was so loose this year, I mean, your foot just sank in it, we decided we were a little nervous to plant with a grain drill and have it drive the seed too deep, just because of the equipment we had in Kaysville. And so we decided to broadcast it with a Brillion seeder, and you know, that seeder gave us a few problems because we had so many big seeds and little seeds at the same time that we really had to open it up to make sure we got those big seeds through. And so we had a really high seed rate, like you can see there. And then we got our first early harvest for just under 45 days, and that was done just before Pioneer Day. We'll be doing another one before frost, because obviously we don't want to ever be taking Sudan off after it freezes until, and there's reasons for that. So I'll just let Robo Cody talk again for a bit, and then I'll show you the next slide.
Data. We're going to be analyzing forage samples.
Forage quality samples.
At the interval of about 45 days. So the stuff that we clipped today, we're going to get that sent into the lab. But then we're also going to do that at about 75 days towards the end when we look at our biomass again. So let's go ahead and just walk across here. You're not going to be able to see which treatment's which, but you can just kind of see the different levels of height in the plants. Reminder, I'm 6'2", and so that will kind of be kind of a gauge. As we're going across, I just want to let you know that with these plots, since they were planted a little bit later and it's a little bit hotter, most of our plots are sorghum dominated by that warm season grass species. Where we planted Lewiston and some of our other areas a little bit earlier, you'll have a little bit more dominance from those brassicas. They're still in here, same thing with the legumes, but they're really small. They just don't make up a big portion of our canopy.
So I'm going to pause there real quick. You can see that we've got a problem. Now that cover crop's getting taller, we've been watering with hand lines, and now we're going to be really limited on that water being able to get throughout the whole field. So we'll see what happens there with we might be able to put some taller risers on there, but other than that, we're kind of limited on how we're going to irrigate from now until the final harvest. So hopefully we get some good rain.
So here's a good shot of where you can see our legume coming through because our sorghum just isn't quite as dominant. Okay, so we got some weeds coming in, like that pigweed, the bindweed. And this is where we're gonna put in our cool season cover crops that we'll plant this fall and let them grow throughout the winter growing season up until, you know, April when we'd be planting corn, April, May-ish when we'd be planting corn. So these will get put in late. We'll get the weeds killed, maybe get the ground worked again, and get it planted. So hope you enjoyed, and hopefully we'll get to see you here in person next year. Data. We're going to be
Okay, so I just wanted to give you a quick view of what the yields have looked like so far. So in 2019, we used a slightly different seed mix. We didn't have Sudan grass in there, and so obviously 70 days worth of growth, and maybe environmental conditions played a little bit into this too. Our yields were a lot lighter in tons to the acre in 75 days worth of growth versus about 40 days worth of growth this year with that Sudan grass. One thing that we've noticed so far is the differences in these yields we can't really explain as being a result of the seed mixes themselves, as much as it could be random chance still. So we just don't have enough data to know if, oh well, if mix one, where we've got the Sudan and in the legume, is going to be better than all of these other ones, even though they look a little bit lower right now. So what would it cost to plant an acre of this at the price of our seed mixes, and then at our super high seed rate? Now, obviously, if you drilled it, it should be about 30% lighter than when you broadcast, and so I've given you those two, and you probably wouldn't want to use the same seed density per acre, but that's our costs. So, you know, some of these we're getting into the mid 300s on the broadcast, while that control of just Sudan grass is $200, and generally you plant Sudan grass at about 50 pounds to the acre. So we were really heavy, just because we were trying to push those bigger seeds through with the little ones at the same rate. So what does that end up being in your cost per ton, just seed cost only, for our tonnage that we've got so far after 45 days? Well, if we would have drilled it a little bit lighter, but we would have, you know, been around $44, and right here we would have been around 60, 66, and at our highest we'd be around 187 per ton of what we got. And granted, there are a few limitations on this initial stuff. You know, we've got our harvests. They were real small plots. Hopefully with our 75-day, we'll have some good equipment to get bigger, to harvest a bigger section of the plots and really dial in what that actual yield data is. So with that, my time is about done, and so I'll